Halloween, 1974. A 17-year-old girl in Utah County, Utah, was doing what teenagers do, celebrating the holiday with friends at a party. Music playing, costumes, the kind of night where no one is thinking about danger. She was tall, beautiful, outgoing, a free spirit, a girl who loved horses, loved the outdoors. She left that party alone and never returned. This is the story of Laura Ann Aime. Hello, friends. My name is Marcia, and this is Midwest Murders, where sometimes even the coldest of cases are finally solved. Laura Ann Aime, 17, was the daughter of James and Charlene Aime. They'd recently moved from Fairview to 485 North Main Street in Salem. Laura frequently stayed with friends, and at the time of her disappearance, she'd been living with friends in the Provo area for about a month. Her parents last saw her about 2 weeks before she went missing. While her exact activities in her final days are unknown, on October 31, 1974, Laura attended a Halloween party with friends. When she left, she told them that she was going to buy a pack of cigarettes. It was a quick errand. It was the kind of errand that no one would think twice about. She'd be right back. She wasn't. On Thanksgiving Day, 27 days after she vanished, 2 college students hiking in American Fork Canyon made a grim discovery. Laura's nude body was found near the Timpanogos Cave Visitors Center, partway down a 12-foot embankment, about 3 miles from the mouth of the American Fork Canyon. She had been raped, beaten, and strangled with a stocking. Evidence indicated that she had likely been kept alive for several days after her abduction. Her murder was immediately linked to that of 17-year-old Melissa Smith, whose body was found just 4 days before Laura went missing. She, too, had been raped, beaten, and strangled. The community was shattered. Funeral services for Laura were held in the LDS Ward Chapel in Fairview North. She was laid to rest in the Fairview City Cemetery. A description of a possible assailant was given by 2 other women who had managed to escape a would-be abduction by a white male described as 6 feet tall, 180 pounds, well-groomed with dark hair. Both women called him good-looking and a sharp dresser. He was driving a light-colored VW with rust spots. Investigators had a suspect in mind almost immediately, and it wasn't just suspicion. It was a pattern they were already starting to recognize. Across the Pacific Northwest and now into Utah, young women, many of them college students, had been vanishing at an alarming rate. The pattern was unmistakable. The manner of Laura's death bore all the hallmarks of a killer who was becoming disturbingly familiar to law enforcement. In August 1975, Ted Bundy was arrested for the first time in connection with the attacks. Police pulled him over and found incriminating items in his vehicle: rope, handcuffs, and a ski mask. But linking him definitively to Laura's case would prove far more difficult. Bundy was convicted of only 3 homicides despite confessing to the deaths of 30 other people. He died by electric chair in 1989. But in the days before his execution, police say he verbally acknowledged his responsibility in Laura's death, among others. But the case remained open. Law enforcement and the prosecutor's office said there wasn't sufficient evidence to formally accept Bundy's confession and close the case. As we've discussed many times on this channel, in the 1970s, investigative practices were very different. Crime scenes weren't preserved the way they are today. Forensic tools were limited. DNA analysis didn't exist in any practical sense. And so for 51 years, Laura Aime's file sat open, unsolved, unanswered. Her family waited. Then in 2025, Utah County Sergeant Mike Reynolds and cold case detective Jake Hall decided to take a new look at Laura's case. The original detectives, it turned out, had done something remarkable. They'd preserved the evidence meticulously for decades. Using new forensic technology and DNA testing, investigators were able to re-examine and process evidence from Laura's case. They identified a single male DNA profile, which they submitted to a national law enforcement database. The results came back in March 2026. They confirmed without a doubt that DNA evidence recovered from Laura's body belonged to Ted Bundy. 51 years, decades of waiting. We finally had answers. In recent interviews, Laura's sister remembered riding horses with her. She remembered watching Laura feed her beloved horse red licorice nibs as a special treat. After Laura was killed, the horse would never eat them anymore, as if something had changed that couldn't really be explained. That is grief without words, and it is the grief of thousands of families left in the wake of one man's violence. But tonight, one family has an answer. One cold case finally is closed, and one 17-year-old girl from Fairview, Utah, a free spirit who loved horses, is finally able to rest in peace. We may just be beginning to scratch the surface of naming the young women who fell victim to Ted Bundy. As technology advances and we discover other cases where the investigators had the foresight to collect and preserve evidence for someday, we may be able to give other families the closure they deserve. If you have any thoughts about this case, please leave them in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and may the truth reveal itself in the shadows.